Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Russ Ruffino with Clients on Demand, and today what we're going to talk about in this video is what is working now to enroll high ticket clients.
Oh, hold up there. Nothing that I say on this channel should ever be taken as a claim about what you can do or what you can earn. According to the U.S. Department of Labor statistics, you have less than a 1 in 1,000 chance of building an 8-figure business. All business entails risk. Most businesses fail. All I can do on this channel is share with you what's worked for me and what's worked for my clients. What you do with that information is up to you. All right, back to the video.
So just in case you don't know who I am, I'm the CEO of a company called Clients on Demand. We've done over $100 million in revenue. We've helped over 6,000 high ticket coaches, experts, authors, and speakers roll out their high ticket coaching programs and enroll their dream clients at the right price anytime they want. But there's been some pretty big shifts that have happened over the last 6 to 12 months, you guys, where I've actually had some 8 and 9-figure gurus reach out to me for help because they've had offers that have just stopped working. And I mean proven offers that have been closing like crazy for 5 years, 10 years in some cases. All of a sudden, it feels like the well has run dry and they're having a really difficult time enrolling the clients that they want. And sometimes these gurus are people that, like, I don't even know them personally. They just get introduced to me through someone, and all of a sudden I get a random text and it's like, hey, Russ, this is so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, I know you. I've seen your ads. Can you please help me? Because all of a sudden my business isn't profitable. You know, we've scaled our business to, $1 million a month or $2 million a month, but now all of a sudden we're doing 1/10 of that, but our overhead is high as it was. What do we do? What's happening? How can I fix this? And so I really took a deep look at what's going on. I looked at why these offers suddenly stopped working, and I kept asking myself, well, what's changed in the marketplace? Like, what's different now than 6 months ago? We looked at, okay, well, have ad costs gone up? Maybe a little bit. Have things gotten more expensive? Maybe a little bit. But that didn't really seem to be what was at the heart of the problem. And the more we took it apart and the more we looked at it, the more we began to realize that what's going on is that we are in a trust recession. So what does that mean? We might be heading into a real economic recession, like an actual recession, but what's affecting the coaching industry more than anything else is just a lack of trust and an insane amount of skepticism. So why is this happening? Well, I think one of the reasons this is happening is that Alex Hormozi, who's a friend of mine, so I'm absolutely not blaming him for this, came out with this book called $100 Million Offers. And in this book, he basically lays out a blueprint for how you can create an ultra compelling, irresistible offer, by stacking things like guarantees and risk reversal and scarcity and urgency and just all this stuff to make your offer super attractive so that people feel stupid saying no. And everyone in the world bought this book and everyone in the world read this book. And then they went out there and they started, using his formula to sort of put together these incredible, irresistible offers. Great, no problem there. The problem comes in is that a lot of these people created these irresistible offers without really thinking about whether they could actually deliver on some of those promises that they were making. So just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, for years, guys, we would do phone calls with potential clients, and we might hear that somebody did someone else's program and had a pretty good experience, or somebody did, somebody else's seminar or masterclass, and, maybe they felt a little disappointed or whatever. But what we never heard is people who felt like they had straight up been burned. So we never heard people say things that we're hearing today. What we're hearing now is, hey, Russ, I'd love to join your program, but unfortunately, I gave this other company $25,000 and I never heard from them again. Russ, I signed up for this other workshop. It was $15,000 and there was just a handful of videos and there's absolutely no support. And then I did everything I could and I couldn't get a refund. So a lot of what's happening, guys, is that there's a lot of shady, unscrupulous people, who read Alex's book. And again, this is totally not Alex's fault because it's a really great book. But they read Alex's book and they started putting together these offers that they absolutely could not deliver on and they had absolutely no business making. And then unsuspecting people signed up for those offers and then they invested a ton of money and then they got burned. Now, this is really happening in the online marketing space where I'm a part of, but it's starting to happen in other spaces as well. One of our clients is in the wedding planning space, and we're seeing a lot of these kind of shady offers coming out in the wedding planning space as well. And so this is going to start to filter into whatever market you guys are in. You might be saying, well, Russ, I'm a marriage coach, I'm a relationship coach, I'm a parenting coach, whatever it is. This isn't really happening in my space. And if it's not, that's really great, but it probably will at some point. Because again, the difficult thing about creating a great coaching company isn't really the marketing, right? Because a lot of people will just copy somebody else's marketing and then they can try to make that work to a pretty good degree. The hard part about this is having a program and a business that actually creates incredible results for people. Does that make sense? So all of this stuff happening and all of these offers that are just over promising and under delivering, they've taken us into this massive trust recession where people feel like they've heard it all, they've seen it all, they're more skeptical than we've ever seen them before, and they really, really need to trust you before they're willing to invest cash with you. So here's what you need to know. If you are a coach, expert, author, speaker, high ticket coach, whatever, in 2025, and you're trying to succeed in this market, it really comes down to one thing. How quickly and how efficiently can you get your audience to trust you? So how can you get people from browsing around on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is and get them clicking and engaging with your stuff and immediately establish and create that trust? The coaches that can create trust quickly and easily and predictably are going to thrive in 2025 and beyond. But the coaches that can't do that or who struggle to create that trust are really going to have a very, very tough time. So the coin of the realm going forward is gonna be trust. Now, another reason this is happening is AI content. We're reaching the tipping point with AI where people are gonna be able to create all kinds of content. You probably see it in your newsfeed already. People are creating images and videos and stuff that's like completely fake. Like Trump flying through the air, like stuff, like just random stuff. You can basically create anything you want now and make it look real. So what that means is that over the next couple of years, people's sense of reality is going to be totally warped and twisted. No one's going to know what's real. No one's going to know what to believe. No one's going to know who to believe. And so that means that again, the most valuable thing is going to be trust. When people come to this channel and they go, oh, you know what? Russ Ruffino, he's a stand-up guy. I believe in him. I believe in what he's saying. I know he's an honest guy. I know he tells the truth. That is going to be the most valuable asset you can possibly have. So what I want to talk to you about today is how do you quickly create that trust? So if that's what we need to do, let's talk about the wrong way to create trust, because a lot of people are trying to do this using some tactics that I really, really don't recommend that are like way too slow. So there's a lot of people out there that are saying that the way that you want to create trust is by starting out with a low ticket offer. So in other words, you start out with selling something for $5 or $7 or $20 or something like that. And the logic behind that is that people will come to your website and they'll buy that cheap thing and they'll go, oh, well, this cheap thing was pretty good. This guy must be pretty trustworthy. Maybe I'll go buy his more expensive thing. Now, this is a myth that's been around since way back in the day, since like before I got started. Everybody used to think that if you wanted to sell somebody like a $7,000 coaching program, you needed to sell them something for $7 and then sell them something for $27 and then sell them something for $97 and then $197 and then eventually work your way up to selling them that expensive thing that they really wanted and needed in the first place, right? And my whole philosophy on that is this. When you rock into a Rolls-Royce dealership, they sell you a freaking Rolls-Royce. They don't sell you a keychain and then work their way up. They don't sell you the keychain and then sell you the floor mats and then sell you a jacket and then work their way up to selling you the car. They just sell you the car because that's what you came into the lot to buy. So for those of you guys that solve major life or business challenges, you want to sell your audience something right out of the gate that can solve that problem. So here's what I mean. Let's imagine that your marriage is in serious trouble and that you're looking for a coach to help you save your marriage and turn things around. And I offer you a $7 book. Do you really believe that that $7 book has the key or the secret to saving your marriage with all the problems that you're going through with your husband, with your wife, whatever it is? Do you really think that $7 book's going to save your marriage? Absolutely not. So if I offer you that $7 book, it's actually going to turn you off, right? You're going to go, I don't need this $7 book. I don't need a Band-Aid. I need a whole hospital. But if I offer you a $7,000 coaching program and I tell you we're going to work together for 8 weeks and we're absolutely going to save your marriage, now that's something that you have to take seriously. Does that make sense? So it's so important that you don't lead with some kind of low ticket offer, because what it does is it actually turns off and repels the high ticket buyers that are really willing to spend money if you're offering them something transformational. Does that make sense? So this whole idea of selling a low ticket offer and then going into a high ticket offer to create trust is the wrong way to do it, because you're actually turning off the high ticket buyers that you want most. Now, another reason why this isn't a good idea is that with ad costs getting more and more expensive, it's actually getting harder and harder and harder to sell a low ticket product and turn a profit. So a lot of people think, well, Russ, isn't it easier to sell a $7 ebook than it is to sell a $7,000 coaching program? And maybe it is, but that's not the real question. The real question isn't whether it's easier to sell a $7 book or a $7,000 coaching program. The question is, which one is easier to sell at a profit, right? Because if you're trying to sell a $7 book, you might be spending $70 in advertising just to get one person to buy the $7 book. So now you're $63 in the red, in the negative, and then you're hoping to make that up with a high ticket sale on the back end. But because you're starting with a low ticket offer, now you're turning off those high ticket buyers, so they're never going to show up anyway. The easiest way to turn a profit with advertising on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever it is to send people directly to a high ticket offer that can solve their biggest problem. Now, in order to do that though, you need to create massive trust. So we'll talk about how to do that in just a second. But I want you to understand is that low ticket offers are probably the worst way to create trust. Make sense? Now, another thing that people are doing is they're thinking that if they want to create trust, they have to post endless amounts of content, like post 5 times a day, 6 times a day. And the idea is, well, if people see posts from Russ over and over and over and over and over again, eventually they're going to realize that he's trustworthy and people are going to believe in me, and that's fine. But here's the thing. I don't have that kind of time, and neither do you. Right? If you're sitting there and you're trying to get your coaching business off the ground and you're grinding out 5, 10, 15, 20 posts a day, just crossing your fingers and hoping people see it, that's absolutely the wrong way to market your stuff. And it's the wrong way to build trust. There's a much faster and much easier way to do it. And I'll talk about what that looks like in just a second. Now, another way people are doing this is that they're trying to do challenges and they're trying to do launches, right? And the logic behind this is to say, well, look, I'm going to run a 3-day challenge, or I'm going to run a 5-day challenge. I've even seen people run like 9-day challenges before. And the idea there is to say, well, people are going to sign up for my challenge. They're going to spend 3 days with me or 5 days with me or 9 days with me. And by the end of the 9 days, they're absolutely going to trust me because we've spent so much time together. Now, the problem with that is, again, it is very, very expensive to run advertising into that kind of a challenge. And then you're spending all this money to get people signed up for the challenge. And then again, you're having to cross your fingers and hope that those people somehow turn into a buyer at some point along the line. And what happens is you end up having to sink all this cash into it. And it's so scary and so terrifying, because it's like you're like day 3 of your challenge. Nobody's bought anything. You've invested all this money in advertising, and it just feels like this horrendous gamble. And it's totally unnecessary and a totally outdated strategy. All right, now the last thing I want to talk about are those guarantees that I mentioned earlier, because a lot of people think that, well, if I offer a very aggressive, very strong guarantee, well, that's a really good way to create trust, isn't it? And unfortunately, no, it's not. Because all of these like scammer type people that I've mentioned before, a lot of them are relying on guarantees. So the pendulum in the very beginning was kind of in the direction of guarantees. People were like, oh, wow, people are offering some aggressive guarantees. That makes me feel good. That makes me feel better. But now there's so many scammy offers that are using those kinds of guarantees that the pendulum has definitely swung back the other way, where when people see those kinds of crazy guarantees, it actually turns them off, because now they associate that with those offers that just plain don't get results. And there's another reason why guarantees are a bad idea as well. And I know because we've tested guarantees with our offers. Now, when we've tested guarantees, it's not like it's caused a financial problem for us. It's not like we always see a bunch of refunds or anything like that, because we really don't. Our clients are just as happy with the guarantee as they are without it. But what we found is that when we offer a guarantee with our high ticket coaching programs, clients just don't show up with the same level of commitment, right? They come in and they sort of dip their toes in the water. Now, you know that if you've got a program that's truly transformational, your clients need to show up absolutely committed and ready to do the work. Now, I don't care if it's a marriage coaching program or a parenting program or a fitness coaching program, whatever it is, real transformation takes work. And every single time we test a guarantee, it doesn't help our sales, but it hurts the level of commitment that clients show up to the program with. Does that make sense? Where now they're like, man, I can back out anytime I want. I don't really need to try. I can kind of dip my toes in the water. And that's just not the attitude that creates results, not just in my program, but in any program, like in your programs too. If people don't show up committed, they're not going to get the outcome. So again, using those guarantees are the wrong way to build that trust. So if that's the wrong way to do it, what's the right way to do it? The right way to do it, the fastest way to create trust, is to describe your audience's problems better than they can. So look, I want to take a step back for a minute. I want you to put yourself in my shoes. It's my job as the CEO of Clients on Demand to help our clients sell their high ticket coaching programs. Now look, most of our clients come to us with no big audience, no big following, no testimonials, no case studies, no letters after their name. They don't have a PhD. They don't have this whole track record. They have the expertise to solve a problem, but they don't have all these credibility indicators that people usually depend on to create trust. So you see my problem. How the hell do I get these people to generate enough trust and authority that their clients will reach into their pocket and invest $5,000, $8,000, or $10,000 to work with them? The secret sauce at Clients on Demand, the way that we do this better than anyone else, is by using strategic empathy. So what does that mean? What that means is that we describe our audience's problems better than they can. Now, why is this so important? It's so important because when you can describe someone's problems better than they can, they automatically assume that you know the answer. So we don't use aggressive guarantees. We don't post content, spam content all over the place and just hope people find it. We don't try to sell them something for $2 and then work our way up. What we do is we send all of our traffic into what we call a trust funnel. And in this trust funnel, there's one video that's about 25 to 30 minutes long. And in this video, all we're doing is we start the conversation by richly and vividly describing our audience's day-to-day experience of the problem. So if their marriage isn't working, what does that feel like? How does it feel to go to bed every day next to somebody who's supposed to be the love of your life and they're just 12 inches away from you, but you feel like there's miles in between you and every day that gap is getting bigger? How does it feel to walk past your wife's phone or your husband's phone and be so tempted to reach out and go through some of their text messages, but you're terrified that if you did, you're terrified what you might find out? That's how it feels to be in those situations, to be in these problems. How does it feel if it's a parenting offer? How does it feel when your teenage daughter, who used to be so bright and beautiful and so excited to come home and see you, now comes home from school, storms upstairs to her room, slams the door, and won't come out? To know that your child is hanging out with the wrong crowd. You don't know where she is all day. You don't know what she's doing all day. You don't know who she's spending time with. You don't know what she's doing online. You don't know what she's looking at. And you're so terrified that your little girl is going in the wrong direction and you have no idea what to do about it. You see what I mean? Where when you're using copy like that, anybody who's in that situation is going to go, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what I'm going through. What do I do about it? And that right there, that's all we need to create that trust and authority. So if you want to do this right, instead of doing all that other stuff I mentioned before, you want to send people to one video that describes their problems better than they can, because when you do that, their immediate visceral reaction is going to be, oh my God, yes, how do I fix this? And that's really all we need. If you're talking about coaching somebody, them coming to you saying, please help, that's where you want to start that relationship. So the faster we can create that, the faster we can create trust. Does that make sense? Now, once we do that, we take it a step further. So now we've connected with them, we've shown them that we understand their problem, and if they're looking at us going, okay, what do I do about it? Now what we do is we completely destroy our competition. And the way we do that is to take the problems they think they have and reframe those problems as just being symptoms of a deeper problem that they're not even thinking about. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example. Back in 2006, I think there was a really famous DVD that came out called The Secret, right? Now, a lot of people crap all over this DVD. It's like if I made a post about what are some of the worst DVDs that went super viral or worst videos that went super viral, The Secret's always at the top of the list. People love to hate on this thing. But nevertheless, back then, it was like a cultural phenomenon. Millions and millions of people watched this thing. So why was it so popular? Well, it was so popular because it used the tactic that I just shared with you, where they took the problems that you think you have and reframed them as being symptoms of a deeper problem that you're not even thinking about. So in this case, they basically started the video by saying, hey, do you have problems in your relationships? Do you have problems with your finances? Do you have problems with your health? Well, you know what? None of those things are the real problem. The real problem is you're not using this thing called the law of attraction. Now think about how powerful that is. Once I buy into that statement, I can't do that fitness program I was thinking about. I can't do that relationship program I was thinking about. And the reason I can't is because it doesn't deal with the law of attraction. So if I accept the premise that everything I'm struggling with isn't the real problem is this other thing, then I have to deal with that thing, that new problem, that bigger problem that I wasn't even thinking about. So if you want to blow your competitors out of the water and just wipe every other solution right out of your prospects' minds, that's how you do it. You connect with them by describing their problems better than they can, and then you reframe those problems as just being symptoms of a bigger problem that they're not even thinking about. Now, once you do that, all you have to do is lay out everything they've done in the past to try to fix their problem, talk about why it doesn't work, and then introduce your solution in a very simple, powerful, and compelling way, and then offer them the chance to book a call with you to talk about working together to solve their biggest problems. Guys, that's all we do in our funnels. That's the backbone of our $100 million coaching company. And that's how we create massive trust in just the space of about 25 minutes while everyone else is bending over backwards and doing challenges and low ticket offers and launches and cranking out all this content, just doing all this stuff, trying to build trust, and it's just not working. And that's why the people that can't establish trust are really struggling right now, and they're going to continue to struggle in 2025 and beyond. But if you know how to use some of the tactics that I just shared with you to really establish trust the right way, then you've got the ability to really write your own ticket, to cut through the noise and the skepticism in your marketplace, and to come out swinging and start enrolling your high ticket dream clients, even if you're brand new at this. You don't have testimonials, case studies, letters after your name, or any of that stuff. If you use the tactics that I just shared with you, it's going to be a game changer for you. And it's going to allow you to establish that trust and enroll your dream clients on a consistent basis. You don't need to spend years doing it. You can do it with one video. And if you want to know more about what that process looks like for us, just click the link in the description of this video. All right, that's going to do it for us today. I'm Russ Ruffino, and I'll catch you guys on the next training.